All right. So, a lot of you out there have been wondering about this.
Yeah,
And we wanted to take a deep dive into it today.
for sure.
Could we ever actually see the full Snyderverse, like Zack Snyder's, full vision for the DCEU restored? I mean, is that even possible?
It's a question a lot of fans are asking, and we found some really interesting breakdowns of how it could actually happen.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at today.
Yeah.
So we've got this sort of potential roadmap of, steps along the way, and we'll sort of try to unpack those.
Exactly. It's like a sequence of events that, takes into account fans in the studio and like the whole, how things are changing in the industry.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
Yeah, totally. So, the first thing, and it's a big one,
Sure.
is that Warner Brothers and DC Studios, they'd really have to make a pretty big change in like their approach to DC.
Right.
Right now, it seems like they're, kind of all about this multiverse thing where like
Yeah.
all the movies are kind of, standalone.
Right. Yeah.
But to actually do the Snyderverse, I mean, to do it, right?
Yeah. You need some
You have to go back to like a unified narrative. You know what I mean?
right back to the original plan.
Yeah, like a connected universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is like, how would that even happen, right?
Well, the analysis we looked at suggests that there's a couple of ways it could go down.
Okay.
One possibility is like a leadership change at the top,
Okay.
at Warner Brothers or DC Studios.
Right.
If new people came in, maybe they'd be more open to, Snyder's vision.
Yeah, or maybe the current approach just like doesn't work.
Exactly. If the multiverse thing flops,
Right.
then maybe they'll look back at the Snyderverse and think, hey, you know what?
Right. There's already this
Snyder
huge, passionate fan base.
Built in.
Yeah, built in, ready to go.
So that's really the key. Like, the studio has to be on board for any of this to happen.
Oh, absolutely. They hold the keys to the kingdom.
Right. They own DC, so it's all up to them.
Without them, it's a no-go. Yeah, totally. Now, the second step gets into something we've seen before.
Okay.
Which is like the power of fans.
Oh, yeah.
When they really organize and like demand something.
Fans can be a force to be reckoned with.
They really can. And, the analysis suggests that if enough fan that get behind this.
Like a critical mass.
Yeah, it could be like impossible to ignore.
Right? It'd be too big to just brush aside.
Exactly. And I mean, we've seen this happen before.
Or the Snyder Cut.
Exactly. # release the Snyder Cut, right?
Yeah, that was a game changer.
It really was. And so, the idea here is that a similar movement, maybe even bigger.
Something like #restore the Snyderverse.
Yeah, that could gain so much traction that it forces the studio to like take it seriously.
That's the idea.
Imagine like social media just blowing up about it.
Trending worldwide.
Yeah, petitions with like millions of signatures.
Fan events, rallies, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, maybe even like conventions and stuff, dedicated to it.
It could get huge.
Yeah, and I mean the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League back in 2021.
Right.
That showed us that like fan pressure can work.
It definitely can. It can move mountains.
So do you think fan campaigns can really make a difference?
I think we've seen that they can.
Yeah, I think so too.
And what do you think?
Let us know in the comments below what your other opinions are on that.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys.
All right, so then the third step is that Zack Snyder himself
Oh, yeah.
would have to be interested.
Of course he'd have to be on board.
Like he'd have to publicly say, yeah, I'm in.
Right. He's the key to all of this.
Yeah, and the analysis really emphasizes that this isn't just like a preference.
It's essential.
It's like a requirement. He's the one who created this whole vision.
Exactly. He built this world.
Yeah, he set the tone. He came up with these, overarching storylines.
The whole thing is his baby.
Yeah, so for the Snyderverse to really come back in a way that, like, feels true to the fans.
Authentic.
Yeah, he would need to be, like, front and center,
Absolutely.
And this could look like him, making a formal statement or,
Yeah.
like, releasing a detailed
Plan map.
Yeah.
For where he sees it going.
And, of course, he'd have to work with the studio.
Yeah, they'd have to be in sync.
Right, to make sure that his ideas, like...
Aligned with their goals.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean... Let's be honest, the Snyderverse has such a specific look
Yeah.
and feel.
It's so visually distinct.
Yeah, and the stories are told in such a particular way.
It's totally Zack Snyder.
Yeah, so to try and revive it without him,
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same.
it would feel kind of fake.
Inauthentic.
Yeah, and you'd probably alienate the fans.
Exactly, the people you're trying to reach.
Right, so he's got to be involved.
He's got to be driving the train.
All right, so then the fourth step gets into something that's really important to the studio.
Money.
Yeah, money.
Yeah, they're a business after all.
Right. It's all about the bottom line. And, the analysis talks about...
Financial viability.
Yes, demonstrating that this could actually be profitable.
Give them some money.
Right. Because no matter how much the fans want it,
Right.
or how much Snyder wants to do it,
If the studio doesn't think they can make a profit,
it's not going to happen.
it's a no-go.
Right. They're not going to do it.
Nope.
So the analysis points to a couple of things that they'd be looking at.
Okay.
First of all, how well did Zack Snyder's Justice League do on HBO Max?
Right, the streaming numbers.
Yeah, like how many people watched it
How
and
many new subscribers did it bring in?
exactly. If those numbers were really good,
That would be a good sign.
it would show that there's an audience for this.
People are hungry for more Snyderverse.
Right. And then the other thing is, how well are other movies doing?
Similar movies.
Yeah, that have like a similar tone or that are,
Ultra-driven?
yeah, like that's much the director's vision.
Like the Batman, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So if movies like that are doing really well,
It shows that there's a market for that kind of storytelling.
right, that it's not just the hardcore fans,
Right.
that like the general audience is into it.
Exactly.
So what do you think are the chances that the studio would see this as like financially viable?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah,
I guess it depends on a lot of factors.
it does.
Market trends. You know what else is out there?
Yeah,
It's hard to say for sure.
for sure. So let us know down in the comments what you think about the financial side of things.
Yeah, give us your opinions on that.
And hey, if you're liking this deep dive so far,
Yeah.
hit that like button.
Show us some love.
Yeah, we appreciate it. All right, so step 5 is all about where this would actually happen.
Yeah, where would they release it?
Right, like where would the Snyderverse live?
Good question.
And the analysis suggests that it would probably be mainly on a streaming service.
Like HBO Max?
Yeah, most likely HBO Max rather than just, in theaters.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the reasoning for this is that, Warner Brothers, they could use the Snyderverse.
As a draw.
Yeah, to get people to sign up for HBO Max.
Makes sense.
Right, and keep them subscribed.
Keep them coming back for more.
Exactly. And, with the fan base already being so passionate
Yeah.
and these movies or shows or whatever, they're probably being pretty expensive to make.
Sure. High production value.
Yeah, streaming would let them, target that audience directly.
Go right to the fans.
Yeah, and, we can't ignore the fact that, people are just watching more streaming stuff these days.
It's how people consume content now.
Yeah, it's so convenient. You can watch whatever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah, binge watching is the new normal.
Right. So it kind of makes sense that the Snyderverse would find a home on a platform like that.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and don't forget to share this discussion with anyone, who's been following the Snyderverse saga.
Yeah, spread the word.
All right, now step 6 gets into some of the more, tricky stuff.
Okay.
Like the creative and logistical challenges.
Yeah.
Because bringing back a whole cinematic universe that was kind of left unfinished.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
It's going to take some serious problem solving.
Lots of moving parts.
Yeah, and the analysis highlights a few key areas.
Like what?
First of all, casting.
Right, the actors.
Yeah, they'd have to, renegotiate a contract with some of the main actors.
Like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill.
Yeah, or maybe even recast some roles if they had to.
If they couldn't get the original actors back.
Yeah, and then there's the story itself.
Right, how do you pick up where they left off?
Yeah, and how do you make it work with the other DC movies that have come out since?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, and one idea that's mentioned is maybe they create a separate Snyderverse continuity.
Like a separate timeline?
Yeah, within the multiverse.
So it doesn't clash with the other stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So it's its own thing.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it is.
That could work.
So, making sure the story all fits together.
Yeah.
And getting the right people involved.
Both in front of and behind the camera.
Yeah, that's super important for this to work.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you can't just pick up where they left off and expect it to be good.
You got to address all these practical details?
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think, which of these challenges do you think would be the hardest to overcome?
That's a tough one. They're all pretty daunting.
Yeah.
But I guess getting the casting right is probably the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
Those actors are all busy with other projects.
Yeah. And some of them might not even want to come back.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you think?
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think the biggest challenge would be.
Yeah, we're curious to hear your thoughts.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to The Other Opinion.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button.
We've got more deep dives like this coming your way.
All kinds of fascinating topics.
All right, so finally we get to step 7.
Okay.
The trigger event.
The catalyst.
Yeah, and this is a specific event that could happen.
That kind of kickstarts everything.
Yeah, that gets people talking again and really pushes this whole thing forward.
The tipping point.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of event could that be?
Well, the analysis mentions a few possibilities.
Okay.
One could be a big anniversary.
Like for Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Yeah, maybe 5 years or 10 years since it came out.
Right.
And that could lead to like a resurgence of fan
The
activity.
renewed push for the Snyderverse.
Yeah, and the media would pick up on it and start talking about it again.
It would get the buzz going again.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe there's like a leak of information.
Oh, juicy.
Yeah, something that suggests Snyder's coming back.
That would get people excited.
Yeah, or maybe one of the DC actors.
Gal Gadot or Jason Momoa?
Yeah, someone like that comes out and says,
I'm all in on the Snyderverse.
yeah, I'm totally behind Zack's vision.
That would be huge.
It would lend a lot of credibility to the whole thing.
For sure.
So this kind of trigger event is important because it connects the fan enthusiasm.
Which is already there.
Right, with like actual action from the studio.
Yeah, it bridges the gap.
Exactly, and it takes the conversation from like a what if.
A hypothetical.
Yeah, to like, hey, this could actually happen.
It makes you feel real.
Yeah, it gives it momentum.
And puts the pressure on Warner Brothers.
Right. So are you convinced that a trigger event like this is necessary?
I think it would definitely help.
Yeah.
It would be a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think, what kind of event could make this happen?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's fun to think about.
It is.
Let us know in the comments what you think the trigger event could be.
Yeah, we want to hear your opinions.
And if you're finding this deep dive insightful, don't forget to hit that like button.
Yeah, show us some love.
All right, so just to kind of sum up,
Okay.
the analysis also presents like a reverse order of these steps.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it starts with the trigger event,
Okay.
which then leads to like a surge in fan campaigns.
Right. More pressure on the studio.
Yeah, and then that pressure could lead to Snyder saying, hey, I'm in.
Right.
And then if the financial numbers look good
Yeah.
and they've got a platform like HBO Max ready to go,
Right.
and they figure out all the creative and logistical stuff.
All the details.
Yeah, and then maybe Warner Brothers says, okay, let's do this.
That's the dream scenario.
Yeah, it is. So when you look at it all like this,
Yeah.
it's clear that restoring the Snyderverse is a pretty complex thing.
Lots of pieces have to fall into place.
It really does. And it takes, the fans being super dedicated
Yeah.
and the studio being willing to like change their minds.
And of course, the money has to be there.
Yeah, and Snyder himself has to be on board.
It's a delicate balance.
It really is.
A lot of stars have to align.
Yeah, and it seems like that trigger event,
Yeah.
that could be the thing that gets the ball rolling.
The spark that ignites the fire.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think?
What do you think out there?
Yeah, what do you think is the most likely step to happen?
Or the biggest obstacle?
Yeah. Let us know your opinions down in the comments.
We're always interested to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, and thinking even bigger.
Yeah.
What other like creative projects or visions out there that are
Yeah.
kind of like dormant right now?
Like forgotten or abandoned?
Yeah, could maybe come back in a similar way.
Brought back by the fans?
Yeah, because the fans are so passionate.
It's an interesting thought.
It really is. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive here on The Other Opinion.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends.
Yeah, spread the love.
And of course, subscribe to The Other Opinion for more deep dives like this.
We've got lots more coming.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Oh, and one last thing.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that this deep dive was generated using AI,
Oh, right.
to put together the information from the sources we looked at.
Yeah.
So while we try to be accurate, there might be some things that aren't quite right.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah, always do your own research.
Exactly. Form your own opinions.
And let us know what your other opinions are down in the comments.
Yeah, we love hearing from you guys.
So thanks again for watching.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
And we'll see you in the next deep dive.
See ya.